Welcome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the very last class. We cannot believe that 4 weeks have flown by. We are all in blue because we're supporting our Blue Jay team. My name is Marilyn. My name is Marilyn Smith. I'm a professional home economist. I am the author of Peace, Love, and Fiber. If you haven't got this book yet, I'm going to come down to your houses and yell at all of you. This is going to be your very best friend, especially if you're living with diabetes. You can get it at any bookstore or online. And you should follow me on Instagram at Marilyn Smith. No, I just at Marilyn Smith, Mairlyn. And Katie's next. And I got to tell you, she always says I have known her since she was a kid, kind of. She was one of my students. And I kind of mentored her, sort of. And then she became a registered dietitian and a diabetes educator. And now she hires me. So it's a wonderful full circle. You never know where life's going to take you. So take it away, Katie.
Thanks, Marilyn. Yes, absolutely. Full circle moment. And fun fact, Marilyn actually married me. So that's like how
Well, I didn't
connected we
marry
are in such
you.
good.
I
Well,
didn't marry you.
oh yeah. Sorry, like also true. Yeah,
I was the officiant. I
that's
performed
it.
the ceremony. Yeah, right.
Thank you. Thank you. That's amazing. Yeah. So really, really thrilled to be working together again for probably the millionth time. So yeah, I'm Katie. I'm a registered dietitian, diabetes educator. I work in a clinic in a community health center in downtown Toronto. Instead of just the basic Blue Jay blue, I'm in full Blue Jays gear now because it's time. And this is my second Blue Jay sweater of the day. So that's how much of a fan I am. And I was one of those weirdos that stayed up for all 18 innings. So hopefully there's some of you out there too that did. But in any case, really happy to be here for the last session. And our nutrition theme today is going to be building a balanced breakfast. So come in with all of your questions about that. Happy to answer. And over to you, Kayla.
Perfect. Thank you, Katie and Marilyn, and welcome back, everyone. This is our last week. I can hardly believe it. It's just flown by. For those of you who might be joining for the first time, my name is Kayla Runka. I work on our education team here at Diabetes Canada, and I will be your moderator. This is the last week, sorry, of our 4-week series. We've saved the best for last, and always that means desserts. So over the past 4 weeks, we've showcased delicious and nutritious recipes, provided all the bonus recipes, and talked a lot about nutrition and diabetes. We hope you've enjoyed it. Marilyn will be demonstrating 2 recipes tonight, the chocolate coffee tiramisu and the cranberry streusel squares. The third bonus recipe is a strawberry pavlova. It is such a stunning and simple dessert to make and is one of my all-time favorites. The how-to segment today is basically 3 ways with oats. How you can step up your usual breakfast game to add some variety to just your regular everyday oatmeal while balancing your plate. On top of the recipes, as Katie mentioned, our nutrition topic tonight is related to our how-to, and it will be about a balanced breakfast. As with all 3 of the last weeks, our education resources brought to you by Novo Nordisk. Lastly, a very big thank you to our presenting partner, Manulife. Events like this are not possible without their support, and we extend our heartfelt gratitude for their ongoing commitment to the diabetes community and their dedication to helping Canadians live longer, better, and healthier lives. I will turn it over to you, Marilyn.
Okay, here I am. All right. And the starting poll box is in front of my face. That
Oh,
was
I
really
just
funny.
ended
I
it.
literally, how I was like, oh, we don't know who she is because she might swear. Anyhow, all right. I am so excited, as you can probably tell. I was so happy when I saw this first recipe, the chocolate tiramisu, and I'm really about portion means everything and size matters. So we'll get to that part. So I'm going to make it. Such a great recipe. I think it's from one of the Diabetes Canada books. So it calls for cottage cheese, and don't go because cottage cheese is having its moment. But it really works really great in desserts for creaminess, and it calls for 1 cup of 4% milk fat of cottage cheese. But when you look at the final recipe, the amount of fat is really low. But we want that fat. I tried it with 2% and it really wasn't as good. And Kayla warned me, but I didn't believe her. Anyway, so I used the 4% and it's so much better. And then we have just a 1/4 cup of light of the light cream cheese, and it needs to be in the tub. So it's the spreadable kind. Okay, so make sure that you get the spreadable kind. You need a food processor or a blender for this, and then it calls for a quarter cup of granulated white sugar. And I'm just going to whirl this up until it's nice and smooth. So yeah, I really do believe that desserts can be sexy. Yeah, I didn't say anything. I was just goofing around. Anyway, so you pulse it up until it's nice and smooth. And then meanwhile, you have a cup of plain yogurt, 1% milk fat is good. And we're adding 2 tablespoons. Now you can use chocolate liqueur or you can use, or sorry, coffee liqueur. If you got any chocolate, that would work too. Or you just use strong coffee. I don't have any chocolate or coffee liqueur. I had Grand Marnier. I tried it. It was crap. So don't do that. Okay. So use the coffee like it says. And if you don't have any, just use some really strong coffee. I'm using espresso. And so I'm going to whisk that in so that it's nice and kind of creamy. And you want to whisk this in before you stick it in there so that it doesn't, I don't know why, it worked better exactly the way the recipe said. So sometimes, we go, oh, I can figure this out on my own. And then the next thing you know, you completely wrecked it. Case in point, I made my daughter-in-law, she likes lemon meringue pie. And so I made it out of a package and I thought, oh, I know how to do this. And I completely wrecked it. So anyway, yes. So I actually had to go to the grocery store at 7 in the morning because I was cooking a turkey. Anyway, so yeah. So don't think you're a smarty pants. Well, you can if you want, but sometimes things like that backfire. So then you pour that coffee flavored yogurt into the food processor and ouch, ow, I really pinched help, emergency. No, I pinched my hand. Oh, poor me. Anyway, so it's all whirled around again. Yeah, isn't that funny? That really hurt. Anyhow, okay, so that's all you do for that. That is actually it. All right. Now I don't even need that. I had some extra I was going to show you. And then this is the fun part. Because portion size is so important, and I do this all the time. I use fun little containers to make desserts, and I make small desserts. I went to Italy many, many years ago on a media tour, and we sat at a restaurant and they gave us dessert in this. Like, look how tiny that is. And it was spectacular because your brain, when you have your first bite of anything, goes, "What?" And then the second bite, it goes, and the third bite, it goes, and then after that, it doesn't really have that first impact. And so if you make small, fantastic desserts so that your brain is really excited for those first 3 bites, you're hashtag winning. Okay. So I love the small portions. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some ladyfingers. I'm only going to do 3 because I've already got the other ones made. For time's sake. So I like to use my teacups. Now, this is in honor of my mom. 7 years ago today, my mother left this earth, and I have most of her. Well, I don't have most of her teacups, but I have a lot of teacups, and I love her and I miss her still. And so this was her dinner set. So in honor of my mom, we're going to use this one to make it, and then I'm going to use a martini glass in honor of me. No, and then I'm going to use just a regular kind of this is like this was my lady next door. I called her my fairy godmother. So I always say use your good stuff. And if you do follow me on Instagram, I have like a little motto. Every morning I do I pour a cup of tea into one of my beautiful teacups. And like I said, most of them are my mom's or my mom gave them to me. And then I say something, whatever. And so, but a hashtag is use your good stuff because you're not a pharaoh. You're not going to take your good stuff with you in your tomb, like, so we need to use it. And the older I get and the more, friends die. And I went, I never even saw her in that dress. So yeah, just use your good stuff. All right. All right. So we're going to get lady fingers. Now, one of the reasons I love this recipe is that you can get a brand of lady fingers here in Ontario that are peanut free. And I'm, I have a nut allergy. So these are peanut-free lady fingers. They come in packages of, I don't know, I think there's 9 or something. So anyway, so you need 8 because you're making 8 servings. You're going to break the lady fingers into the bottom of whatever container. They should be about a half a cup, or into the teacup. And then I made espresso. Espresso is so good. So you want strong coffee. Now, if you don't have an espresso machine, you can actually buy instant espresso. Now, I wouldn't drink this, but I use it to bake with, because drinking wise, it's not quite as, as the real stuff. So, but I use it for icing or something like this. But my husband made some extra espresso. So then you're going to put about a tablespoon on top of the lady fingers, and it's going to soak it up so that you're sort of and this is, I mean, I've had this where it was mostly booze, so you could mix that up too, but I don't want you to. I just there's a little, you don't need it anyway. Honestly, you don't need it. And then you're going to put a quarter cup of this. Hang on, I got to get a spoon. Oh, here it is. You're going to put a quarter cup on top of the mixture that I just pureed up. Okay, and then it has to go in the refrigerator to set. And it really should go in there for about 3 hours. Now, with holiday season, I hate to say this, kind of around the corner. This is a fantastic dessert to have when company comes over because you can have it, you can serve it to everybody, and it's amazing. And when it's all done, I'm going to put those in the fridge later. See how quick and easy that was? And then you put them in the fridge, but make sure that you're going to cover them with some plastic wrap or something because they could absorb the flavors in your fridge and you don't want it to end up tasting like garlic because that would be really bad. And then you're going to get some cocoa powder, and just before you serve it, you're going to sprinkle the cocoa powder on top like so. And here's another teacup. And that's it. And so you have this elegant, yummy dessert that is so delicious. And you only need a little tiny bit. Where's my spoon? And I'm just going to eat some just to make you all jealous. Anyway, but it firms up in the fridge. Mm, 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 mm. If you look at the nutrition breakdown, you're going to be really impressed. Sorry, my mouth's watering. All
No,
right, but
Marilyn,
just
I'm gonna jump in because there's quite a few people asking if there's alternatives to coffee, and I'm curious to what you would say. But tiramisu is that type of dessert that is the traditional flavor on it. And I know we talked about this, but when I was in Italy at a cooking school in the summer, we made a limoncello version. And so we did not use the cocoa powder. We substituted the cocoa powder and the liqueur for the juice and zest of two lemons. And then we used limoncello to soak the cookies in instead of the coffee. But you would have to be okay with alcohol being
alcohol.
included in there. So I don't know if you have
Right.
some other suggestions.
That's a great question because I have made it before with orange juice. And so I just did straight up orange juice and I used the zest of the orange on the top. And then I also put a little bit of cocoa powder because I think orange and chocolate tastes really interesting. And so I used less orange juice because I didn't want it to be like too over the top. So where it calls for it's a half a cup of coffee plus 2 extra tablespoons. I wouldn't put the 2 extra tablespoons in, but orange juice does work. And I've also done the orange juice with Grand Marnier, but you don't have to use that at all either. Okay, great. That was a great question. I just want to talk just a quick little minute about cocoa powder. So cocoa powder is heart healthy, brain healthy. It's got magnesium and a whole bunch of trace minerals and stuff. But when they Dutch it, which is Dutch processed cocoa powder like fries, not to slag them or anything, they Dutch it because it makes it more mixable. But when they Dutch it, they reduce or they destroy 2/3 of the antioxidants that are good for your heart and your brain. So if you want to have a cocoa powder that's actually better for you, you need to actually to get something that says natural. Now in Canada, we don't have a lot of big brands that have sell it up here, natural, which is natural. Or you can go to a health food store and find something that'll just say cacao. But if it says, Dutch processing or anything, then you're not getting the one that's going to be the best. Now you're only using a teeny bit in this. There's a reel that I did last week on cocoa, an unsweetened version, which is what I drink, and also a sweetened version. So if you want to check out my Instagram, I talk more about the whole cocoa powder thing there. Okay, this is so good. I'm sad to put this away. So, is there any other questions while I just move it out of the way so I can get the next thing? Yeah, and I kept telling my husband, I need a bigger boat. There's not enough room on this house to put all these bowls. Okay, are there
There's
anything that I can
a
ask while I'm
well,
moving?
there's a
Yeah.
fair amount of information about people who can't have dairy. They're allergic or lactose intolerant. And so I think, unfortunately, this is one of those recipes where the dairy
You
component is a
can't.
significant portion of it, and that,
Yeah.
a plant-based alternative like a plant-based yogurt or something you could try, but you would have to experiment with something like that because the other ingredients are just integral to the recipe. I'm
Right.
assuming you would.
And the other thing that I did is if you are lactose intolerant, I mean, not lactose intolerant, if you don't do gluten, you have celiac or something, you could just do the little pudding thing in one of these little cups without the cookie at all. And it's really good. Like, I mean, I was licking the beaters. Well, not the blade. That's a bad idea. Never lick the blade of your food processor, but I was licking the bowl. It's delicious. So, okay, now the next one is such a great recipe, and it's actually Kayla's recipe, and I'm very happy that she shared it with us because I love squares. Now, once again, it's Christmas time is coming, or holidays, or Hanukkah, or whatever you're celebrating, and it's nice to be able to have a little treat. And so, this one is so good. We're going to make the crust first. Calls for 3/4 of a cup. I will talk louder. 3/4 of a cup of unsalted room temperature butter. And some people say, well, why would you use unsalted? And it's because I use unsalted for all my baking. The reason is then I can, if it needs some salt into it, I can adjust the salt, but I don't want a manufacturer to tell me how much salt I'm using. And also, I've told you this before, I don't use a lot of salt when I cook pretty much. So using unsalted butter is better. I think so. But it does go bad quicker because salt is a preservative. And so when you buy it, what I normally do is I cut it into 1/2 cup and 1/4 cup portions and I freeze it like that. And so then when I go to bake, if I need 1/4 cup or 1/2 cup or 3/4 of a cup, which is a half and a quarter, then I've already got it already divvied up. But if I left it in the fridge, it might go moldy. So if you've ever noticed unsalted butter going moldy quick, it's because the salt is a preservative. And then it calls for a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. It's gonna combine that. Yvonne was yelling at me. Anyway, okay, and then the next thing we're gonna do is we're going to combine. See, I have all these recipes all over the place too. So and then we're gonna combine like the crumble part of it. So we're basically making this. It's so good. It's like I've got a whole, this is gonna be the second bunch. I'm gonna have to give it away or I'll eat the whole thing. This is large flake oats. Now they have to be large flakes. Don't use the small ones. You wanna use the large flake. And we have in here is a cup of all-purpose flour. Now, I will tell you the truth. I've used stone ground whole wheat many times making this, and it's just as good. So if you want to use a stone ground and instead of all-purpose, go for it. And then it calls for hang on, where is that? 1 cup of the large flake oats. Now, oats by themselves are normally gluten-free, but depending on the facility, they might be cross-contaminated. So we use a lot of oats, so this is what I store them in. But you can buy, certain companies have gluten-free, and it'll say right on the front, gluten-free. So there's a lot more. This used to be kind of a specialty now, but there's so many more oat companies that are processing them just alone. So I've mixed the flour and the oats, and then I'm also going to add some baking where's the recipe? Baking soda, a teaspoon. And there's a 1/4 teaspoon of salt that you're supposed to put in, but I didn't. Okay. So, but that's your call. You can put it in if you want. I honestly don't find that salt makes all that much of a difference. But I think it's just because I'm used to no salt. So it's what my taste buds are used to. So I'm just going to mix all that around. And then this is kind of tricky because when you put this in here, you can either mix it by hand, or you can really slowly mix it together until you have to kind of do it by hand. But it comes together pretty quickly. And then, depending if you have hot hands, which I don't normally do, but I'm boiling because I have the ovens on and I'm wearing a sweater. And I've got all these in my house. I have like basically I have like TV lighting in here. I've got a great big huge lighting stand and then a small one. So I'm boiling hot, so I'm gonna melt the butter all together. So you just finish it up in your hands, with your hands until it's nice and crumbly. And I was raised on date squares, and so when Kayla created this recipe with the cranberry, it's like so reminiscent of my mom because she didn't bake much, but she did make date squares. And so I think it's kind of appropriate that I'm making this tonight in honor of my mother. Thank you, Kayla. Okay, so that's a bit of a mess. I'm just gonna go wash my hands for a sec. Okay, and take it away, Siobhan. All right, then there, or so you have a question there, Kayla. If you want me
Oh, yeah. No, I
to
was just going to
yes.
say you and I were both from the West Coast, and so these are known as matrimonial squares, not date squares. And this recipe really came about because I had too many cranberries left over and I didn't know what to do with them. And so I gave it a try, and it has quickly become one of my husband's favorite things to snack on. So um, it's amazing. I love it.
I do too, and it's funny. It is called matrimonial squares, but whenever I say that out here and in Ontario, people are like, "Well, what are you talking about?" So, I ended up calling them date squares, but yeah, they were matrimonial squares, and I don't know. There's probably a historical reason, like I don't know. You ate one of these, you got married. I don't know. There's always a reason for everything. So then you're going to take about 2/3 of the crumble mixture, and put it on the bottom of your pan and pat it in so there's no holes, because if there's a hole, then the next ingredient's going to go through and it's going to be a big sticky mess. So just pat it down like so. Okay, and I'm going to put that to the side, and then we're going to make the topping. And the topping is cranberries. That was a spoiler alert. So we've got 2 cups of cranberries into a saucepan. We have a half a cup of water. We have the juice of a half of a lemon. Voila. And then we have is it 1 tablespoon? No, two tablespoons of brown sugar into that. And we're going to put that on the stove, and we're going to boil it down until it becomes a thick paste. And what it says on the recipe to do, I like the potato masher. I smash it up when they've started to pop. And that way I have like it's just easier. I think I'm lazy. And then we're going to just pour this into that. So you do it right off the stove. So if I had cooked this right in the moment, it takes about 10 minutes. And so I did it ahead of time. And then you're going to put it all over there, like so. And going to sprinkle the rest of the crumble on top. And it is so yum. And I give tea parties. I think, once again, if you follow me, you know I'm a tea drinker. And with the morning cups of tea and everything, this goes in the oven for about 30 minutes, and the oven is on. So I'm going to just shove it in. Uh, But if I was having, I don't know if I'm going to have a tea party this December because I'm going to school, and it's a lot of work. And I think I might need a rest in December. So I don't know. Anyway, I haven't decided yet. But when you cut it up, like this is a serving, but if you were having a tea party, you could just do half of it. And then this would be like a little square that you would have in with a cup of tea. And you could even have the tiramisu. I mean, this would be the best tea party. So that's it. That's
It
the
would
recipe.
be an amazing tea party. And I forgot to mention when I jumped in about matrimonial squares that I did in the tip on the recipe
Hmm.
include how much dates and how much water. So the variations that you would need to add to make a traditional matrimonial cake or date square. So you get 2 recipes in 1 on that one.
I never saw that. I was so excited about the cranberries. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm going to clean up. Take it
Okay,
away.
take it away for Katie. All right. So, Katie, I'm going to throw you for a loop. So, I know we were going to talk a little bit about mindfulness and finding
Mm.
joy and pleasure in the foods that you eat. So, I will let you speak to that. But just on that note as well, we have a lot of questions and some chatter going on around sugar versus artificial sweeteners. So, maybe you can hit that one too, as you're talking about finding joy and pleasure in the food that you eat before we move on to breakfast.
Yeah, let's do it. So we've said it before, all foods fit. I think that's something to keep in mind. We want to get away from the concept of good versus bad food, because really there's no such thing. Like, certainly there's more nutritious choices we can make. And then there are foods that we would call sometimes foods. And I think desserts fall in that category. It's the things that we do every single day that make the biggest difference. So if you're having a treat or a dessert once in a while, it's really totally fine and can be part of a healthy diet. Um, and that's part of the concept of all foods fit. It is really important to find enjoyment and pleasure in the foods that you eat. Life is short, quality of life is really important. I always tell people the only foods you don't want to eat are ones that are spoiled, ones that you are allergic to, and ones that you don't like. It's incredibly important to eat foods that you like. I think it sets you up for success down the road in order to build healthy habits and sustainable eating patterns. In terms of living with diabetes, it's, we want to try and take a mindful approach when we are enjoying some of these things that can be sweeter. So really checking in with yourself to see where your hunger levels at, if you can honor your hunger and eat when you're hungry, and also respect your fullness and stop when you're full, that can help with not only blood sugar management, but can help with the overall enjoyment of the foods that you're eating. And Marilyn made a good point too about the 3-bite concept when it comes to dessert. So if you really truly slow down and take time to appreciate what you're eating, be mindful, really taste what you're having, acknowledge like the texture, and really notice these things about the food that you're having, your sense of pleasure and enjoyment will be so much higher. And you might even find that a smaller portion goes a long way. So I would encourage you to include these types of foods once in a while and really sit with them, enjoy them, and try not to feel guilty about it. You're not ruining your diet. It's part of a sustainable, healthy relationship with food. And I think when it comes to things like sugar, there's a lot of fear around it because living with diabetes, we want to try and keep blood sugars under control. You can do certain sugar substitutes if that's your thing. I know Splenda can be incorporated into recipes that sugar would typically be used in. So you can do a substitution. I would encourage you, if you want to try some of the alternatives, to first find recipes that are designed with those alternatives in mind so that you're not spending money on a bunch of ingredients and then it doesn't work out. So try and look for recipes that already are tailored to using these different types of sweeteners or things like monk fruit. So all in the realm of all foods fit, like it's absolutely okay to have a bit of sugar. Diabetes Canada recommends trying to limit that, of course, to less than like 10% of your overall calories. I like to take the approach of when it comes to added sugar specifically, aiming for females less or equal to 24 grams per day. For males, because they have larger bodies, typically 36 grams. So that can be a bit of a guideline to use. When it comes to sugar as well, look at labels to determine if you think this is something that will help you enjoy food and satisfy that sweet craving, but also not spike your blood sugar in a huge way. If you can find things that are less than 8 grams of sugar per serving, that's a total win. But again, portions do play a role, and really slowing down and enjoying what you're having can make it that much more satisfying. And you might find it prevents overeating as well. That's
Great. I love it.
My 2 cents.
I love
it
your message.
too.
Yes. All right. So do you want to talk a little bit about breakfast? What makes a healthy breakfast? How you balance your
Sure.
plate before Marilyn moves?
I mean, sweet breakfast can be a thing too, right? I certainly have enjoyed many a sweet breakfast in my lifetime. When it comes to building a healthy breakfast, we do want to consider things like the plate model or the plate method, which we've talked about before. The key things to build a balanced breakfast are including protein, healthy, high fiber in the form of low glycemic carbohydrates, and a source of healthy fats. So not only is that going to help you feel satisfied, but it's also going to help maintain lower blood sugars because you're not going to get huge spikes when you're eating that particular composition of nutrients and macronutrients. There is some interesting research about breakfast, and breakfast is an important meal for the day. eating breakfast prevents large swings in blood sugar that can happen after skipping a meal. A balanced breakfast with protein, fiber, and healthy fats helps to promote a gradual rise in blood sugar, so that will help keep your blood sugar stabilized throughout the morning. It can also help to improve your body's insulin response. So having breakfast primes your body to use insulin more effectively later in the day. This is also known as something called the second meal effect. Skipping breakfast can make it harder for your body to manage sugars after lunch or dinner. And in terms of satiety and appetite control and energy, having breakfast helps you to feel less hungry later in the day, and people are less likely to overeat or crave sugary foods if they're including breakfast in their daily routine. Balanced breakfast can also help maintain energy, focus, and mood, which is super important because nobody wants to be hangry. And there there is some evidence also to show that it can help to improve long-term blood sugar management. So regular breakfast eaters living with diabetes tend to have better A1C levels and more consistent blood sugar readings throughout the day. And skipping breakfast is linked to higher blood sugars and insulin resistance throughout the day. So lots of reasons why including breakfast is important and really can help you manage your blood sugars. Some ideas for balanced breakfast could be aiming for, like, if you have a smaller appetite, I would say 30 grams of carbohydrates. If you have a larger appetite, maybe 45. Also including, of course, we want high fiber choices there. And also including at least 15 grams of protein and a healthy source of fat. So that could be something like an omelet with veggies, with whole grain toast and sliced avocado. It could be, I love cottage cheese. I know it's having its moments. So one of my favorite breakfasts is cottage cheese with some nuts and a bit of fruit and a little drizzle of maple syrup. Love that. And oats, which Marilyn will talk more about, is a wonderful canvas to build up a healthy breakfast with. I like to add like peanut butter. When I find a good protein powder, I don't mind mixing that in too, just to boost the protein in that meal, and always adding a bit of fruit. I also am a big fan of savory oats, which I think grosses a lot of people out. But I actually think they're really good. So I encourage you to experiment, have fun. The great thing about savory oats is it's an opportunity to throw in some vegetables, some added protein, and play around with flavor.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. And, you know, we've talked a lot about the balanced plate, and, you know, we do have resources that speak to that on the Diabetes Canada website as well. But I was just replying to someone in the Q&A around their usual breakfast bowl of oats with some fruit. And so, Marilyn, it's a great segue over to you on how you can build some oats into that balanced plate that includes, of course, fiber, carbohydrate, whole grains, and some protein, which is typically what people are missing at breakfast more often than not. So over to you. Thanks, Katie.
Great, thank you. Okay, I've got two ideas right here, and then there's another one behind me. So let's do the one that I pretty much eat right now. I kind of go in waves, and right now I'm doing overnight oats. And so, you know, you see people with those little cute jars. It's a bunch of baloney. You need a big container. I just got this at the dollar store. That little tiny thing is like stupid. Anyhow, so I just got a bunch of these containers, and I make it on Sunday. I'll make maybe enough for 3 or 4 days. And so here's the recipe. Here's the winning combination. Here's the one that I've been kind of hot on right now. Okay, so it calls for the plain yogurt. Okay, plain Greek yogurt. So you've got your protein in here, which is great. And then I've been doing this for a really long time, and I thought I invented it, but apparently I didn't. So I think Greek yogurt is kind of thick sometimes, so I always add kefir to it. I've already pre-measured the kefir into a jar, but if you were buying it in a bottle, just shake it up before you pour it out. And what that does is it actually thins this out. So, and this is kind of sad, but when you get older, sometimes you choke on stuff. And so I just think it makes it skinnier. It kind of makes it the same consistency of regular yogurt, but you're getting more prebiotic in the kefir and more protein in the Greek. So you're actually getting a healthier combination. So that's good. And then you can add I'm adding a half a cup of unsweetened pumpkin. It's like pumpkin puree. This is just the no name one, not pumpkin pie filling. So don't be doing that. And I add a half a cup, and I honestly think this sort of tastes like dessert, but I don't put any sugar in it. What I do is I put in, oh, I forgot the oats, and then there's there's the large flake oats. That's all going to get mixed in there. And what happens, it's really cool, is that the oats, the acid, or from the kefir and the yogurt, kind of melt them. And so when you eat this the next day or in a couple more days, there's not even any. It's just like all this sort of homogeneous thing. And the beta glucans, which is the fiber, the soluble fiber in oats, which is really excellent for people living with diabetes and everybody else too. They kind of dissolve in here, and it makes it so creamy. And then I'm going to put pumpkin pie spice in. And it's like, if you're into that pumpkin spice everything, I put a lot in. There's no sugar, it's just spices, cinnamon, nutmeg. You can make your own. And then sprinkle on some pumpkin seeds and put that in the, I'm not going to lick this because the oats are lumpy. I made this on breakfast television with Dina to talk about this course, and she ate it and just about choked because she ate the raw oats. So don't do that. Anyway, and then this is what I eat the next morning. I just pop it open and breakfast is ready. All right, the next one you could do berries. You could do frozen raspberries or fresh. The fresh ones are really expensive right now, so I didn't. So that's got the oats and the kefir and the yogurt, and then you can put some walnuts on, or those are almonds, and then that's in the refrigerator too. So you can mix it up. It's so much fun to kind of create. Another recipe that I loved, that I made the other day from the diabetes stuff, from the stuff you're getting, is baked oats. And it's just oats, and there's eggs and milk, and a lot of blueberries. And this is a really big, huge serving, and it's delicious. But one of the best things is it has psyllium husk in it. And psyllium husk, I've been doing this, it's one of my papers that I'm writing on for my master's, psyllium husk and reducing cholesterol, and it's true. But you have to buy the right one and make sure you use it correctly. So it calls for 3 tablespoons in the recipe. And when you have psyllium, it becomes this, any soluble fiber becomes a gelatinous goo in your gut, and it keeps you filled up and you're not hungry. It's extraordinary. I've been even putting psyllium in my overnight oats with just a tablespoon of the husks. I used the powder and it became a sand castle. So it's very potent, and buyer beware. So read the instructions really carefully. And then the last one is if you were going to make yourself a bowl of oats. Okay. So you said, okay, I'm going to have my regular large flake oats tomorrow morning. So you're going to have, you've got choices. So you have protein choices that you can use. So we could put in the protein powder. This is just plain, Katie, I get this, it's from Australia, and it's just whey powder. There's nothing else in it, which is kind of what I love. So
Me
you could
too.
put in, yeah, I don't want all the bells and whistles. I don't want all that other stuff. So that's just plain. Or you could add pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds are really great for protein and fiber and zinc, which is great to help support your immune system. You could do any kind of nut butter. This is almond butter for me. Hemp hearts, really a great source of protein, especially if you're a vegetarian. Or you could even just add some Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt for me as a partial vegetarian is one of my go-to proteins. So we could be adding that, and then we would add a fiber element, which would be the fruit. So pears and apples are pretty reasonable, and they're soluble fiber, and they're so good for you. So you just cut that up. Raspberries, once again, great for fiber. Or kiwi, if you have any problems with constipation, if you have 2 kiwis a day, it's a miracle. It is absolute, especially if you travel. I travel with kiwi. I take a knife and a spoon, and I have 2 a day. Or you could even have a banana. So you're going to build a better boat, build a better bowl. So, and you could experiment. So, like, there's all these different ideas. So, I've got like 5 different breakfasts with the same bowl of oatmeal. So, using your imagination, your taste buds, see what you like. And then you've got what Katie talked about. You've got your whole grain, you've got your protein, you've got your fiber, and there's healthy fats in here with if you use hemp hearts, the hemp seeds, or if you use the pumpkin seeds too. So, this is perfection. All right. Was that it? Is that all I was supposed to do? It seemed like there was so much more in my head. Yes, yes,
Either
yes.
Marilyn or Katie,
Yeah.
Can you say why oats are so good for people living with diabetes? Because we're getting some questions in the chat saying, I thought we weren't supposed to eat them. So,
Can I go from it first, Katie, and then you can fill in just because I'm studying this at university. So beta
Absolutely. I know you're
glucans.
so passionate about the oats.
I'm so, I'm so
So
passionate about
passionate.
fiber. Honest to gosh, the book P7 Fiber that I wrote 5 years ago is just coming into its own because we're learning so much more about fiber. I just read a study about people who had this high fiber drink who were living with diabetes. And what happened was that they changed their gut microbiome and they became so much more healthy. So I'm excited. Anyhow, beta glucans is a soluble fiber and it grabs hold of cholesterol, but it also helps maintain your blood sugars and it fills you up. Like a study of one, my grandma lived to be 98 and she had oats every morning. So yeah, that's anecdotal, but you know what, it worked for her. Maybe it's my ancestry. So Katie, fill in the blanks. I just had to talk about that because I get so excited.
You love them, I know. And I mean, all oats are not created equal, also. So I think
No.
there's some confusion around quick oats, steel cut oats, old fashioned. General sort of rule of thumb I go with is that the longer something takes to cook, generally speaking, the better it tends to be for us. And when it comes to oats, I feel like this rule applies. So with steel cut oats, you're getting all the components of the whole grain. You're getting the bran, you're getting the germ, the endosperm. It's been minimally processed, so you're getting all these components of the whole grain, which equals fiber. When the oats have been processed and stripped away of some of the things like the bran, it not only is that removing fiber, it's also making that oat have a bit more surface area. It's going to cook quicker. And that being said, it's also going to increase your blood sugar at a more rapid rate. So if you don't mind spending the extra time cooking steel cut oats, I think that's the best option for like a hot oat. That being said, I think Marilyn, you've done some experimentation with steel cut oats overnight style, and it was kind of meh,
It was
I think.
no, it's okay. You soak them in
Was
the milk,
it?
but you have to cook them. And so it's that extra
Okay.
step. So you could do it and cook it. But what I've decided now, and there's recipes in P7 Fiber, what I do now is I make a huge pot of the steel cut and then I chill it. And so the next morning I'll warm it up, with either some milk or something, and then add all this kind of stuff too. So I make it ahead of time. So because it does take 35, 40, about 25 minutes, 30 minutes to cook it. So I make a huge, and then I think it goes into that resistant starch that we keep teasing people with, cold cooked oats.
Yes, absolutely. They're so good for your gut bacteria. Yeah.
I would also
Yeah.
add that psyllium, which Marilyn talked about, is also good for your gut bacteria. It is also good if you struggle with constipation, like those two kiwi fruits that Marilyn mentioned. And it is a source of a fermentable soluble fiber. So it's considered also a prebiotic, which does wonders again for your gut microbiome. The other thing we didn't talk about, which we talked about in the first episode, and I'm a little hesitant to bring it up because everybody wanted to hear more about it, but the process of soaking the oats, but not cooking them in the overnight oats, increases what's called resistant starch. So, Katie, did you want to talk a bit about resistant starch again and why it's beneficial for people with diabetes?
Yeah, for sure. So there are, I think, about 5 different kinds of resistant starch, and the ones that we're most familiar with are called retrograded starch. So this happens when the starch has been cooked and then cooled, and then you can either eat it in that state or you can gently reheat it. And what that does is it reconfigures the starch molecule in a different way. So it acts more like a fiber and less like a carbohydrate. So it won't impact your blood sugar to the same extent that, let's say, like eating the hot version would. So that would be like the retrograded starch. There's also naturally occurring resistant starch. in certain foods like green bananas. And then there are different forms that can be created and used in the food industry for different products. It resistant starches don't break down in the body in the same way that carbohydrate typically does. Like it takes longer to work through the digestive tract, which is a good thing because that means it's not going to increase your blood sugar in the same capacity. So once it reaches the lower digestive tract, it is broken down and enjoyed by the good, healthy bacteria, which use it as food. So you're feeding those happy, healthy friends, and they are producing things like short chain fatty acids as a byproduct, which is helpful. And yeah, it's really good for your gut. It's good for your blood sugar. It's a great way to lower the glycemic impact of what you're having. So intentionally kind of retrograding the starch can be really great. And I just feel like it's, we always hear different things in social media and, friends telling us, oh, you can't have this, you can't have that. And at the end of the day, all foods fit. And yes, you can have it. And there are tips and tricks that can help you enjoy foods in a way that can help balance your blood sugars.
Love
Yeah,
it.
and I just love that, you have all these options. It's a very creative breakfast. And I think we all get stuck in the same old, and your gut microbiome likes a lot of different stuff. So I mean, you could do the bowl of oats with pumpkin seeds one day and a pear. And the next day you could do the oats with the hemp hearts and the raspberries, which I've done and it's very good. So you have all these different options, and every time you have a different plant that you're introducing into your GI, there's those trillion, bacteria that are like, yay, like bring them on down. So yeah, I just encourage you to don't be afraid of food. Like, and what Katie says, there's room for everybody and there's room for everything, but size matters. And just remember that. So size matters. That should be on my graveside.
That's the
Go
last
for
message
Will be
you're going to leave us with tonight, Marilyn?
no, go for a fart walk. Yes, because I had created that name, and go for a fart walk. It works, and size matters. There you go. Parting
I
words.
love it.
No, we've
Okay.
still got more time.
Well, we've got 5 minutes, so I'm going to wrap it up and then leave time for the poll. But I'll
Okay.
let you have one final word just in case you have anything last minute to say. Um, I can't believe how quickly this hour has gone, never mind this month. We hope to continue to do this in the future, and we'll look to maybe keep you posted on some recipes and new ideas that we have in the works throughout the year as we plan another session. So stay tuned to your emails for that. It's been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to this all year long as we work on planning it. I have a big thank you to Candice, who you don't know, but is in the back end running the platform and the meeting for us each week, and to Allison and a few others from Diabetes Canada interacting in the chat and the Q&A to keep things moving and providing you with additional resources. One last big round of applause and thank you to Marilyn and Katie. Katie, for your knowledge and such a refreshing positive outlook on healthy eating and diabetes. And Marilyn, for your humor and your knowledge and inviting us to your home in your kitchen each week, week after week. So we hope to stay in touch with all of you. Keep your eyes on your inbox for other learning opportunities with us around cooking and nutrition. And Marilyn, I'll give you the last word and I will end the poll.
Okay.
Oh, I
Oh, I
think it's
love
ended.
having,
It's ended.
okay. I love having the last word. Okay, so, and I want to thank you, Kayla, because without you, none of this would have happened. And the fact that you reached out, and said, "Hey, you want to do this 2 years ago?" and then Katie came on board, and it's been like I feel like we are the three musketeers, and we would not be anything without you. So thank you for all the hard work that you do. Yeah, and she's like the best. Like if you want two new best friends, Katie and Kayla would just fit the. So anyway, thank all of you, because without you supporting us, this wouldn't happen. Thank you to Manulife. Thank you to our other sponsors. It is a joy to do this. My goal in life is to make a difference. And that's what we're here to do. And I'm gonna cry anyway, because it's about making the world a better place and about supporting each other through things. And I just want to say that we're here for you. And yeah, so anyway, all right. So bless all of you.